guys, it's your internet bestie, Noelle Blue, and I am here. This is not a get ready with me because, as you can already see, I am already ready. This is more like a top 10 update kind of thing. My birthday is actually on November 7th, so it is tomorrow, and I usually do a books list of the top 10 books that I want for my birthday this year. Well, I am behind. So I am jumping in on YouTube to fill you guys in on some new, interesting, cool books. Maybe you heard of them, maybe you haven't, that made my birthday wish list / TBR this year. So real quick, it's not going to be super long. It's going to be short like a get ready with me, but it's going to be jam-packed full of books. All right, let's go. Okay. Number one on my list, these are not in any particular order. They are just a list of books that I want. So number one from the top is actually Sea Witch by Sarah Henning. I actually found this book while I was doing the other reads for Wicked. I love me a good magical retelling. This one promises to be just as interesting. It is actually a magical spin like they needed one. It is a spin on the Little Mermaid story from the perspective of the Sea Witch, Ursula, except for her name is Evie, and she is in love with a prince, and she has a new friend. One of her friends died. She tried to use her magic to save her, and it looks like maybe she turned into a mermaid. I'm not really sure. We're going to have to read it to find out, but that is why it is on my, birthday TBR. Boom. Book number two is actually Song of Achilles from Madeline Miller. I don't know much about that book except for the fact that it is from Madeline Miller. Madeline Miller wrote the Circe book, and this is right up her wheelhouse. So I figured, hey, if she did such a good job on Circe, she'll probably do a good job on this one. That is why it made my list. Book number three is The Wicked Will Rise from Daniel M. Page. If you guys have been following me on social media and on the blog, then you know that I just finished reading Dorothy Must Die. And this is book two in that series. If you've been following me, then you know Dorothy did not die in book one. And now I am thoroughly invested in what I'm pretty sure is a YA novel. So there we go. That is why it's on my list. I need to know, how do we kill Dorothy? Do we do it in the second one? Probably not. There are 3 books. Okay, so that was number 3. Number 4 is a book called Unhooked by Lisa Maxwell. Unhooked is a Neverland tale. It promises to have Peter Pan and Captain Hook there, but in this version, up is down, down is up, good versus evil means absolutely nothing. A young girl whose name I've forgotten already, gets kidnapped. It seems like her and her friends get kidnapped and taken to Neverland. Her mother had always told her that monsters and creatures were after her, and she thought her mom was wilding. And now she is in Neverland, losing her memories, trying to save the day, and she is faced with the decision of, does she let her memories of the past go, or does she hold on to them and try to find her way home? And it sounds super interesting. I actually found it when I was also doing a search for other reads for the Wicked book review that I was doing, and it looks interesting. It looks so cool. I really want to read it. Boom. Okay, so that was Unhooked. That's number 4. Number 5 is actually The Age of Witches by Louisa Morgan. I actually discovered this book while looking for a book, just a general book search that I usually do every couple of months or so. I type in new adult fantasy books 2022, because that's the year it is, and watch what pops up. And The Age of Witches was one of those books. So it gives promise of long historical bloodline of witches. It's giving familial spat, where the family is fractured between those who want to do good and those who use power for themselves. Apparently, a young woman has to save her long lost cousin from her cousin's mother, who would like to use magic and power and influence to keep the family name affluent, and this other woman just wants to help. It sounds interesting. I'm totally here for what the back of the book says. I didn't read more into it. It just made my book. I'm a very to get on my TBR, super simple. It just has to sound like an interesting story. This sounds like an interesting story. I'm totally here for it. I'm down for the Age of Witches. And it also promises to be a series. So I'm kind of here for that also. All right. So my number 6 book is actually called Between Ink and Shadows. I also discovered this one, same way I discovered lots of other ones. I just typed in new adult fantasy 2022, and this popped up. Shorty is paying off her father's blood debt in a magical society where there are also castles and things. The king's royal vizier has a dark secret, and he's hooked up with the same dark society that the young woman is indebted to. And it promises to be a wild ride. Maybe they fall for each other, maybe they don't. Y'all know I care nothing about the romance aspect of these stories. Just give me magic and a good fight scene and I'm here for it. So this sounds like it's going to give me all of that plus some romance that I'm not really invested in, but it sounds interesting. So Between Ink and Shadows, ooh, that made my number 6 book for my top 10. Number 7 is The Midnight Library. I actually thought I bought that book. I can't believe that it's not in my library. I literally scoured the house for it one day looking for it. Swear somebody took my book, but I did not buy it yet. So The Midnight Library by Matthew Hogue is a story about this library on the edge of time, somewhere between life and death. And when you die, maybe when you're hanging between life and death, you get to read or walk into this library and come upon all the book versions of your life. So any choice that you made and any other choice that you could have made are all recorded in these books. And these books go on and tell the story of the life you could have had if you would have made other choices. And a young woman finds herself there, faced with an opportunity to read her book and change her life based on the book that she read, that, you know, with the choices that she could have made. I think that is such an interesting theme. I think that the story concept is super cool. When I read it the first time, I'm like, I want to read this book and I want to see how it goes. And I have yet to actually buy this book or read it. So that is why it is always on my TBR list. So it seemed like a really interesting book. I was totally down for reading it and then never bought the book. So that is why it is always on my TBR. One of these days, I'm actually going to buy it. Hopefully one of my beloved friends or family members buys it for me, and then I'll have it, and then I can read it, or I can borrow it from the library, whichever one happens first. Number 8 is going to be Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn has an origin book story called Mad Love, and I don't remember who bought it, but if you guys are a fan of me or a follower of any of my blog posts or any of my social media, then you guys know that I am a diehard Harley Quinn fan. And so anything Harley Quinn, I absolutely love. Of course, she was going to be on my book list every year. Of course, you guys knew she was going to be on my book list every year. A version of her is. For the past couple years, I've been getting comic books from her. Last year, Bestie got me one of the big comic book stories from her. So yes, this year, I want Harley Quinn's Mad Love by the people who wrote that book. Yes. And again, it's her origin story, or the official accepted canon origin story of Harley Quinn, and how she ended up with the Joker and how all of that ended up happening, culminating with her trying to kill Batman, because of course, as we know, that ends up happening. The next book in my birthday TBR is called All the Ever Afters. It is a book by a woman named Danielle Teller, and it is the secret backstory to Cinderella's evil stepmother. For whatever reason, she is supposed to be writing the story or the history of Cinderella, and instead ends up telling her own secret history, from her coming up as a peasant in serfdom to how she moved up through the ranks to become the woman, the Lady Tremaine, I suppose, and also how she became Cinderella's stepmother, and probably how all the other things that happened between her and Cinderella happened. I do not know the rest because I didn't read it, but I want to. I would love to, which is why it's on my TBR. It's number 9. So, yeah, All the Ever Afters is number 9 in my birthday TBR. That is one of the books that I want. And we are literally at the end of this video, basically. My number 10 book for my birthday TBR is going to be The Fairy Tale Code by an author named Cameron Jace. And I discovered this book the way I discovered like the last 4 or 5. It was because I was looking for new adult fantasy books in 2022. This was one of them. It is actually a mystery that just happens to involve fairy tales. A young woman's sister was murdered, and her sister believes she cracked a code in regards to a secret society and possibly a serial killer who uses fairy tales as his means of killing people, I suppose. The young woman is also cracked this code and is following up on the trail to find her sister's killer. Meanwhile, a detective stumbles upon a murder. Well, he is put in charge of the murder of a young woman who found herself hanged in one of the abbeys. And when he is put on the case, he is actually on the trail of a cult that uses Grimm's fairy tales to murder people somehow. So as you can imagine, the two cases between the young woman and what she's doing and this detective and what he's doing collide, and they must work together. Yeah, they have to take down this evil society as well as stopping a killer. And it looks like they will do it together using these fairy tales. I am excited. The book is called The Fairy Tale Code. That's why it's my number 10. So, guys, those were my 10 books for my birthday. If you happen to live in the Philadelphia area and you want to give me a book for my birthday, there you go. There's a book. Did any of these make your list of a book that you wanted to read this year? Have you heard of any of these books? Do you want to read any of these books? Let me know. Leave a comment below. As always, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. I'm probably going to be a little MIA for the next couple days because, again, I've been celebrating my birthday all weekend. I'm jumping in here real quick because my birthday is tomorrow and I'll probably be celebrating it then as well. And then, of course, my birthday's on Monday, so it's going to be a work week. Yeah. If you guys here have any book suggestions that I should read for my birthday, definitely leave a comment below. Do all the things, like, subscribe, share, tell your mom, tell your aunt, tell your cousin, tell your cousin's baby mama. Tell everybody about your girl, Noelle Blue. As always, it's been fun. Bye!